Welcome, lords and ladies, back to the realm. I am your humble host, the Goat King, and today I treat you to my exploration of the elemental plane of wood. Now, let me warn any prospective explorers, getting into the plane was time-consuming. While the plane has technically re-emerged and opened, its gateways are few and highly restricted. It took a full week to get through customs. But maybe I should start with the basics. Elemental wood does not occur only on the plane of wood. Its patterns can be seen on a small scale in the plant life of the universe. Theoretically, with the correct preparations, one could induce a larger scale of elemental energy by carefully shielding an area from the other 5 elemental energies. You could then take advantage of elemental wood's flexibility to nurture it into performing or fulfilling nearly any purpose. But enough of the element's applications on other planes. We are here to talk about its home plane. The plane of wood gives rise to flora, plants, and only plants. Those plants come in a wildly prolific diversity. From mountainous trees to poisonous nettles no longer than your pinky finger. The day and night cycle on the plane is due to the regular growth cycles of luminous fruits and flowers. Seasons are regional and the result of the slow, cyclical metabolisms of igneous sequoias or frost oak forests. There are rivers of intoxicating sap. While you won't find any fauna, there are mobile animal-like plants. Very few of these flora animals need to eat, but they are not used to outsiders and may act unpredictably. Most usually flee, but some can grow quite territorial in the presence of strange outsiders. But it isn't all glowing fruit and bluegrass hares. The plane was originally closed for a reason. And that reason is still ongoing. Long ago, one of the elemental lords of the plane of fire attacked the plane of wood by releasing a blight. Ayrzul's blight ran all but rampant, poisoning the plane and its denizens. While it's currently contained in specific containment areas, a true cure is no closer today than it was a millennia ago. And travelers beware. This blight has been known to take root in mortal blood just as surely as Kizithar sap. Many residents in favor of reopening the plane hope to find the secret to a cure in exploring and trading with the other planes. In their resilience, we see the fundamental nature of elemental wood: habit, discipline, and slow but steady growth. What better proof of this nature than their schools of wood elementalism? The Blackboard Regiment teaches the importance of both restraint and art in defense. Blooms of 100, unlike the other schools, puts a focus on anger. This too can be tempered with habit and discipline to form the precision and control needed for offensive magic. Dance of Crawling Ivy is a school focused on subterfuge, which appropriately hasn't made their methods easy to discover. Finally, and the one whose adherents have been the most helpful to my explorations, the School of Willow. This school focuses on clarity and flow to not only channel wood, but also water. Where are my manners? I didn't learn all this without the help of the gracious people of the Plane of Wood. I first came into the plane through the gateway at Shodokar. And what a city! The whole thing sits in a dormant volcanic caldera, produced by what I would later find out is a candlenut tree. In passing, and I think entirely by accident, I met Vosh Karan, a young Ardande diplomat. I learned Vosh was once a student of the School of Willow, but had changed career paths because they tend to struggle with repetitive tasks. Voch is helping to put their flexibility to work in diplomacy. Before we went separate ways, Voch was able to put me in contact with their former mentor, Master Yip Chi Lan. I would have gone immediately to meet with the headmistress of the School of Willow, but I was warned against traipsing off into the wilderness on my first day. Fortunately, Shadokar has an arena constantly abuzz with friendly competition, so I had something to watch while I awaited passage. Meeting Master Yip-Chi Lan was like meeting a lost twin or a kindred soul. The Ardande Elementalist had as many questions for me as I did for her. She is an avid researcher and probably the most knowledgeable elementalist on the plane. I could have spent weeks in conference with her if not for her duties as headmistress. She did point me toward a grand library in the city of Nodalin, however. This plane and its cities do not cease to amaze. Nodalin, the glowing city, is built within a truly immense Jamjari tree. This city is well in excess of the size and capacity of Absalom City, and may only be exceeded by the plane of Axis. Nodalin is divided into countless distinct metropolitan districts. These districts are well connected by an infrastructure of mechanized transit, which allowed me to efficiently find the district I needed. The Pith District is home to the Terrasiltus Library, a library that deals only in the trade of information, ensuring its stores of knowledge grow ever richer with each visitor. Nodalin is also home to the Pollards, a police force established by the Elemental Lord Verilorn. The Pollards focus on negotiation and regulated dueling for the explicit purpose of reducing tensions in the city. Verilorn, custodian of Oak and Ash, himself dwells within one of his perfect tree cities. Carefully pruned and guided, his creations have not a leaf or branch out of place. From these vantage points, Verilorn can keep a watchful eye and keen ear on all goings-on in the plane. Such is his dedication to the safety of his people. This focus on rigid control and observation prevents Verilorn from enjoying close friendships, and he has few confidants. Verilorn was not always so cold and taciturn. There was once a time when he and Shimunu worked together in joyous creation, but Verilorn cannot be like that again, not after dedicating himself to the protection of his people. Shimunu, the carved lady of mimicry, takes a very light hand in the affairs of the plane, preferring to dedicate herself to creation. In fact, the vast majority of the plane's mobile life is her work. Shimunu was not born or created on the plane of wood. According to her own accounting, she is the child of a union between a Kodama and a Kizidar wizard. When she came to the plane of wood and saw it devoid of animal life, she began teaching the plants to mimic the animals of other planes, including knowledge of carving and cultivation, so that they may reproduce more floral animals. Shimunu maintains her home, the Court of Transcendence, and allows a select few people, one per year, into the court's animated garden. These sculptors, who must have been a resident in the plane for at least a decade, are given access to the finest tools to produce new artworks for the garden. Each year on her birthday, Shimunu brings one of these pieces to life. Much of the wildlife roaming the plane to this day are from the animated garden. While Shimunu's behaviors have remained consistent, she was also harmed by Arzul's attack. She is infected with the blight, and while her condition has long been stable, she has not been able to cure herself. Many of her followers and confidants hope a cure can be discovered on the other planes. Asim bint Attar is one of these confidants and the leading expert on the blight, its treatment and cure research. Unfortunately, Asim is rooted in place and has been unable to chase her research to other planes. As of yet, few of her fellow Kizidar have been willing to lend a hand. Until further study can be done, Kolobo oil is the best-known treatment. This sap is farmed from the Kolobo rainforest and has the power to prevent contraction of the blight, as well as relieve its symptoms temporarily. Unfortunately, unknown individuals threaten Kolobo oil production. or at least the people producing it. Faiz Ibn Wasim runs one of the largest cullable oil production facilities on the plane. He has also been a major force investing in interplanar trade. A rumor spread, traceable only to an artisan district of Nodolan known as the Reeds of Nodolan, accusing Faiz of using exploitative business practices in his farms. Already, business partners have begun to cut ties damaging both oil production and interplanar trade efforts. Investigations into Faiz's enterprises have found no evidence to support the rumors. The questions raised by this are uncomfortable. Was the attack a deliberate attempt to weaken the only defense against the blight and delay the discovery of a cure? Who on the plane would stand to benefit from such actions? Or is the heart of cullable oil production really as dark as the rumors suggest? Maybe we're due for a change of subject. I was fortunate enough, by the timing of my travels, to see a performance by Yumna and Zahir al-Shamishi. The Ardande sisters are conjoined twins and, so far as I can gather, the best musicians of the entire plane. From what I hear, they are planning a tour of the plains. Their protective mother, Nasreen al-Samishi, is not yet keen on the idea, however. She's an instructor at the Elementalist School Dance of Crawling Ivy. I suppose being an expert in subterfuge predisposes her to caution. I have mentioned in passing that many of these people are Kizithars, or Ardande, but I haven't explained what either of those are. Kizithar are genies of wood, and Ardande are planar scions of wood. There are also wood Panuma shades, Kodama, and a wide variety of wood elementals. And, I'm told, wood dragons in residence on the plane. While I haven't seen any of these dragons, reportedly they bear a striking resemblance to the carved Lady of Mimicry. There are a few locations we have yet to discuss, but first, let's examine some of the new spells and items. There are 21 new spells, and all worth a look, but I will focus on the 2 new focus spells, added for the new wood domain. First, we have Arms of Nature, a 2-action spell targeting a wooden object or plant of at least 4 bulk. This spell draws forth a +1 weapon of up to 2 bulk that lasts for 1 minute. This allows you to conveniently utilize any special wood that might be available, quickly replace a lost weapon in a fight, or completely forego the cost of upgrading a weapon's runes if you know you will be adventuring in wooded areas for most of your journey. Unfortunately, it isn't particularly action efficient. Second, we have Wood Walk, a 2-action spell that compels large plants within 15 feet to aid in your movement. When casting, and each time you sustain the spell, you can move your speed in any direction, so long as you don't exceed 15 feet from a large or larger plant in the area. It can be sustained for 1 minute. Later, the duration goes up to 10 minutes and no longer requires sustaining. On to items, we have a new type of consumable item known as elemental pods. These seed pods can be used in 2 different ways to provide different effects. There is a 1 to 2 action activation to provide an immediate or short-term effect, and a long 10-minute activity to plant the pod for a longer-lasting effect. For example, the Blooming Lotus Seed Pod is a level 7, 68 gold piece uncommon item. With a single action, you can cast them into a non-damaging liquid surface up to 40 feet away. The seeds then grow into 5 large lotus pads that last 1 minute and can each support the weight of a large creature. If instead planted, it blooms into a giant lotus flower that improves sleep within 30 feet. And wards against effects that target sleeping individuals. While there are plenty of other new items, I'm going to focus on the 2 cool shields. The Broadleaf Shield starts at level 6 and 225 gold pieces. This shield heals itself when left in sunlight. It also changes shade depending on the season, and provides an appropriate damage resistance, though it can be briefly induced to change color and resistance type. The Kizidhar's shield is a level 11 shield worth 1,250 gold pieces. It can only heal itself once per day, but it can also cast a version of Wall of Thorns that lasts 8 hours to protect a campsite. Armed and Armored, let's examine the last 2 locations on the plane and their dangers. Beneath the ground, formed of roots, a sort of cave system can be found in the gaps. The crypts of the Tuber Lords were once ruled by 6 reportedly greedy Tuber Lords. When the Blight came, they closed off their realm in an attempt to protect it. Unfortunately, the Blight was not so easily blocked. With the caverns blocked off, their people would have had no knowledge of, or ability to procure, cullable oil to protect themselves. Now, millennia later, the caverns are still unopened, isolating both the wealth of the Tuber Lords and whatever corruption remains of their blighted subjects. The Forest of Faces seems like an ordinary cypress forest from the outside. Many who look upon the forest find it quite inviting and are drawn in. The dread begins as you start to see trees with carved faces that jeer and watch. The dread only builds as the faces begin to cover the trees. I am told that those who travel all the way to the heart of the forest and return are changed. The details of this change are left obscure. Perhaps it's a flesh warping of sorts, or maybe, well, I don't know. I don't plan to see for myself. Thank you, lords and ladies, for once again joining me. I plan to explore the plane of water next, but as always, travel with loyal companions.